5 most disturbing caving videos. This is a great channel, by the way. Not gonna lie, dude, this is a great channel right here. I mean, great channel, dude. I'm be real with you. Yo, Goon with the 5, thank you.
2019, YouTuber Connor Kelly posted a video of him exploring an abandoned McCoy gold mine in the Nevada desert. However, what was...
You know, there's a quote. Sorry to pause the video again, but it is what it is. You're going to deal with it. Do you know what the best quote is about caving? The best thing is about going cave diving is that you don't have to do it. The best thing is about going cave diving is that you don't got to do it. I don't understand. But who goes up on top of this mountain, sees this, and be like, I'm going to go in there.
Supposed to be nothing more than a fun adventure with his family, quickly turned into a disturbing experience. One that would likely stay with the group for the rest of their lives.
Oh, no. See, at this point, I'd be like, okay, I've seen it, I'm leaving. I'd go this far. Nah, see, I'm out. I'm out right here.
The exploration of this mine started off quite normal, with the group staying silent to avoid causing an accidental cave-in, as seen by the text they put on screen.
No.
However, after about a minute and a half of treading deeper into the mine, Connor noticed something strangely reflective on the path ahead.
What?
So, do you see that reflection? They're trying to... Check it out. Oh.
Oh, Jesus, what? It's a shoe.
Oh,
look, is that like a fossil?
Cuz said, is that a fossil? Bro, you didn't find no fossil in here. You know how many people done been in this cave? You think you the one that's gonna find a fossil laying around? You done lost your mind.
We're human.
Okay, wait, don't move, Wyatt.
What they found reflecting back at them was a shoe, amongst many more, in a massive pile with random bones scattered throughout.
That's a bone right there. Actually, there's quite a few bones in this.
What made this pile even more odd was the sheer variety of shoes on display. Many of them were clearly very modern, while some were models that were released over
I know what you're thinking, chat. See, I already see some of y'all typing it. Y'all are thinking this is some serial killer that's killing people and dumping their shoes in a cave. But I'm here to tell you that's not what's going on. There is definitely an explanation for this right here.
30 years ago. How could such a random assortment of shoes end up in an abandoned gold mine in the middle of nowhere?
I'd leave
Things
ASAP.
took an even
You know
darker...
what I would do if this say this video is real and I actually spotted a big pile of shoes right here? I'd go buy me a trail cam and I would set it up on one of the walls and leave it there for a long time and see if anybody eventually comes in here and throws some shoes in here. So, because I want to know like what's going on.
Turn when the group ventured further into the cave and found a bunch of bones, including a relatively intact spine.
So this is water flow.
What's your explanation then, Detective Case? You know what's crazy? He literally just said my explanation. There's probably water that flows into the cave and there's just random shoes that float in the water and then they make their way down into the cave from the flowing water.
It is gonna be great.
Bro, no. Okay, then it's a serial killer shoe dumping site. You tell me if I sound crazy or you sound crazy. All right, bro.
We can't trust this.
You don't step any closer.
Matter of fact, no,
By
it's
this point, the
Bigfoot.
group was growing increasingly unsettled by these disturbing discoveries, prompting them to leave the cave as quickly as possible. And that's where the original video ends, without any explanation or resolution.
You sound
Connor didn't
crazy?
provide any more information in the video's description or in the comments. He posted 4 more videos after this, but none of these videos included any updates on the disturbing encounter either.
Why not?
So, what's going on here? One of the first things that comes to mind is that this mine was the collection spot for a serial killer. This would explain both the shoes and the bones.
Come on, cuz.
A top comment on the video also backs this theory, stating, "If you ever listen to the Missing 411 videos, you know shoes are a major component of missing or abducted people. This sent chills down my spine.
Come on, man.
Which is true. A statistical analysis of the missing 411 data shows that over 15% of the cases involve absent shoes. However, this theory isn't entirely likely. For starters, I couldn't find any news reports regarding this mysterious pile of shoes.
Huh!
Which is odd, since judging from the number of shoes, this supposed killer would have had hundreds of victims.
Facts! They've been killing for years!
If this pile had such a violent history, it probably wouldn't go unnoticed by the media. More importantly, many people on the internet agree that the bones in the video are not human. The group in the video reaches the same conclusion when looking at the bones for the first time.
No, it looks like a cow or a horse. Way too big for a human.
How do you know?
Put simply, the odds of this being a serial killer
That is a crazy name. Thank you for the 5 gifted, bro.
trophy cave are very low. But given the animal bones scattered throughout the area, it's possible it was the feeding spot of a predator like a mountain lion. Though, while that might explain the bones, it offers no clues about the pile of shoes. One theory I haven't seen anyone else bring up is that the shoes might have ended up there because of flooding.
But when he says it, that's what happened. But when he says it, that's what happened, right? So y'all gonna believe him and not me.
You see, the McCoy mine where the video was filmed is located in Lander County. And from what I could
Flooding in the desert? Buddy, when the dude was in the cave, there was literally flood water stuff in there.
find, that area is quite prone to flooding. So it's entirely possible that someone dumped their sneaker collection in the middle of nowhere to get rid of it, only for it to be carried in the abandoned mine with rainwater.
Hey!
A mountain lion could have moved in later, which would explain the bones. The only proof I have of this theory is that the ground in the deepest part of the mine is extremely wet and has water
That's exactly what I said!
flow marks leading into it. Other than that, it's pure speculation. That said, another potential explanation for both the bones and the shoes is that Connor placed them there himself in hopes of creating a viral video.
Facts.
People on the internet have pointed out that the bones in the video are a bit too
Matter of fact, that's exactly what happened. Yep, you hit the nail on the head right there. You know exactly what happened. This kid went to his grandpa's house. He noticed that his grandpa had an insane old collection of dusty shoes he don't do nothing with no more. So he got them all, dumped them in the cave to make video. You right, bro.
clean for something left in a muddy cave by a predator. Some have also claimed that a few of the bones look like they're inorganic fabrications. Another inconsistency in Connor's video is that he and his group keep claiming that all the shoes in the pile are kid-sized.
There's no adult shoes in there.
Oh, you just gave it away.
He even mentioned that in the video's title, which reads, "Kids' Shoes and Bones Found in Abandoned Mine." Now, while that makes an already creepy situation even more disturbing, it's simply not true. There are plenty of adult-sized shoes visible in this pile. Unfortunately, I doubt we'll ever know what happened here for sure.
I think he got it. Chat, y'all think it was set up? Type 1, you think it was set up? That might have been set up, bro.
It's been 6 years since the video was uploaded, and as I mentioned earlier, Connor has vanished completely from the internet ever since.
Hey, come on, man.
Play War Thunder
Bro,
now.
I'm not
Join
playing
millions of
War
players
Thunder,
across the
bro.
globe in massive battles on
Please!
tanks, aircraft, and helicopters.
Action Adventure Twins is a YouTube channel run by brothers James and Edward. The duo has been exploring dangerous and crammed caves since early 2020. Yet, despite their combined experience, one of them almost lost his life back in 2022.
Huh?
In January of that year, the two decided to explore the popular Petty John's Cave in Georgia. They had already explored parts of this maze-like cave multiple times before, and had even found an underground waterfall during one of their expeditions. Put simply, they were pretty confident in their ability to navigate through this cave.
Bro.
But unlike their previous ventures, this time they were going to tackle one of the hardest sections, the aptly named Nervous Breakdown, referring to how cavers feel when going through it.
Then why do it? Why do it? Won't you get a boat or something? Won't you go fishing?
Things started off just as expected, with the pair going through the narrow and claustrophobic entrance to reach the first open area of the Petty John's Cave.
Dude, I physically cannot believe people do this. I can't believe it. I mean, bro.
Whoa, entrance room.
They're brave. No, this is not bravery. No, this is not bravery. I fear this is not bravery. This is, I'm missing survival instinct. You know what's bravery? A kid goes missing in the cave somewhere and you go in there to try to rescue him. That's bravery. Just going in here to do it? Nah, you got me messed up.
However, it didn't.
Don't even care! You literally don't care that if you slip, you gone. What was down there? It's more mud and rocks, bud. I could have told you that and I never went in there.
Decisions he'd ever make.
He did?
Because after descending for a few minutes, Edward called for his brother, only to be met with complete silence.
I found a rope.
Where you going?
In other words, Edward was now lost in an unknown section of the cave without any means of contacting his brother. At first, he tried to stay calm and continued his descent, hoping to find James before long. However, after staying separated for over 30 minutes, the realization set in.
30 minutes?
He knew panic was the fastest way to make a bad situation worse, but at this point, he couldn't help but feel a growing sense of unease.
James!
Oh,
It's just a jumbo maze. We should have never split up.
you shouldn't have went to cave to start with!
After calling out to James many times with no luck, he decided to retrace his steps and find the way back. Unfortunately, he had underestimated the difference.
Yeah, why do you think you don't ever see animals down here? Because even animals are smart enough to realize, I'm not gonna go down there. I ain't never seen a rat, nothing, this far into a cave. Nothing. Because even they know that I'm not about to go in there.
Passages and jagged walls made it impossible to tell where he had come from.
Dude.
To top it all off, his situation was getting
Sad.
worse with each step he took. If he went the wrong way, he could easily wedge himself into a passage too tight to escape, or worse, plunge into a hidden drop-off. This is the true horror of caving. Even if he didn't injure himself, he could have just as easily wandered around aimlessly until his body. The two stayed together for the rest of the expedition and made it out alive without any major injuries. They're still exploring caves on YouTube, but now...
They still go in caves after that? Alright, bro.
with a lot more caution.
I just don't understand. Bro, ain't no way I'm getting an ad for this right now. Bro, can I skip
Great
it?
ideas can come from anywhere.
Please?
With Wix,
Thank you.
In January of 2014, a group of cave explorers decided to
GG.
conquer the Lost John's Cave in Lancashire, England. It's a vast cave network that spans a length of nearly 3 miles, or 4.8 kilometers. The known deepest section of this cave also goes down a staggering 690 feet, or 211 meters. Most members of this group had been told to squeeze through. But when the situation seemed hopeless, one of the members had an idea that ended up saving Bob's life. Instead of pushing forward, the members behind him tried pulling him back.
It took y'all that long to try that? Buddy, that'd have been my first thought.
And it worked. That him and the 2 members who pulled him back had crawled for another 3 hours to get out of the cave from a different exit.
That is crazy.
This incident also left him traumatized to the point where you can't even watch this video without becoming anxious. From what I can find, he scaled back on caving and picked up a much safer hobby instead.
Wow, so he's smart. See, usually you hear stories like this, not just with cave diving, but like skydiving or just other extreme stuff, they'll get snapped up real bad, spend 3 years in a hospital, and as soon as they get out, they'll go start again. Bro actually learned his lesson, and now he's just riding bikes. Everybody should be like this guy. Like, don't that look so much more pleasant, man?
Cycling, and now appears to be doing just fine.
Blake's got a birthday cake milkshake from Zaxby's on his birthday. What more could a kid ask for?
A motorcycle.
You ain't getting no motorcycle.
On the 7th of September 2024, the action-adventure twins YouTube...
They're back again? Wasn't this the same people in the other one?
Channel posted a video exploring a mysterious cave someone found on their property. They've learned their lessons since and approached this one with far more caution. But with an entrance as life-threatening as this one, even the best precautions could have proven to not be enough.
Ain't no way,
Alright,
bruh.
so the guy dropped us off halfway up the hill.
Busty Father with the 10, get the thank you,
He doesn't know
Busty
anybody
Father.
who's been down this thing, but we were at the cave. He says he threw a rope down it with a rock and it was 200 feet deep before it stopped. So we got this stick here. We're gonna see if our rope reaches. It's still, oh,
You ain't gonna go
you
in
were
there.
right, it kept going.
This alone is enough to terrify most people, with one person stating, "This channel has given me a new fear about walking in the woods. The fact that you could just slip and fall down a hole
Dude,
like
that
that
is true. Imagine you're randomly walking through the woods and there's something like this there and you fall. There's nothing you could do.
It's still, oh.
people, with one person could just slip and fall down a hole like that is insane. Now anytime I go anywhere, I wonder how many massive voids are right below my feet that I could fall into at any moment."
Facts.
But that didn't deter Edward and James.
Of course it didn't.
They quickly secured their rope to a nearby tree and began descending into the steep cave.
Of course they did.
What they found inside was nothing short of breathtaking. That tiny opening gave way to a vast chasm.
That is, dude, that is insane.
Yeah.
This is a big one, man.
However, before they could fully take in the beauty of the cavern, things took a dark turn. Just seconds into the cave, the two discovered what looked like human remains scattered throughout.
That's comforting. Human bones, huh?
Look how big they are.
Dude, look behind you. There's like a little shrine of
Bro, come on, man. You wouldn't be that casual about it.
them. There's like, oh, that's a cranium.
Buddy, you would not be this casual.
Dude, is that a human?
Nah, I don't know. It's awfully round.
Yeah, that looks human, man.
That doesn't necessarily make, I don't know. I'm not a bone expert.
From there, they continued exploring the cave as it kept getting bigger the further they went into it. They also discovered old caving equipment like ropes and harnesses already secured to the walls, a detail that only deepened the mystery surrounding the bones they had found earlier.
That is,
if they
so
did
somebody was there forever ago doing this. That is so crazy that they're not even the first people to be in this thing. Somebody like 50 years ago came in this cave, bro.
A detail that only deepened the mystery surrounding the bones they had
That
found
is
earlier.
insane.
If they did belong to a person, as the two suspected, it was possible they belonged to a previous explorer. This explorer likely had an accident and died in the cave without ever making it out.
That can't be true because they're all piled up on like a little rock.
On their way in, they did find scattered bones right below the entrance.
Oh, never mind. GG.
These were likely the remains of people who accidentally fell into the otherwise unassuming
No
hole.
way.
However, the bones they found further inside were too far from the entrance to have belonged to someone who simply fell in.
Yeah, see, that's
it's
what I was
also
saying.
possible that these remains belonged to the victim of a deranged killer. Someone who either had ended a person's life within the cave, or maybe threw the person into the hole and later dragged their body further into the cave. Some people, however, weren't convinced and accused the brothers of faking the whole thing, especially since the way Edward and James handled some of these remains felt a bit too casual. That said, while YouTubers faking these finds to get a viral video isn't uncommon, this one turned out to be true. The video received several comments from experts confirming that these remains were indeed real and human, with one such person writing, "My girlfriend and I are watching from Canada. We're both paramedics, definitely a human femur and a human cranium. But this raised an even bigger question. When did the owner of these bones pass away?
It had to be a long time ago if they're stacked there like that.
If they disappeared into the cave in the last few decades, this discovery could end up cracking an unsolved case. I ended up contacting the action-adventure twins to see what they had to say or if they had made any police reports afterwards. We ended up contacting the authorities about the bones.
Cap.
They were determined to be human, and were apparently a Native American that either slipped and fell into the pit cave or was thrown in there after death and are 2,000 years old.
2,000 years old!
That these bones belong to someone more recent, the despair of whoever ended up in that cave alone 2,000 years ago is just as impossible to ignore.
Dude, the world is so crazy, chat. Say that is real. The world is so crazy that this same cave, somebody was just out walking 2,000 years ago and fell in there.
Ended up in that cave alone 2,000 years ago
Floating
is just
door
as
with
impossible
10,
to
get the
ignore.
W floating
They likely
door.
fell into the cave, somehow survived the fall, and ended up starving to death while looking for a way out.
That's insane.
You know Harbor Freight for affordability, but durability goes right along with
Chat,
it.
that's
You see,
crazy.
we test.
Side point if you're in a cave right now.
On October 28, 2004, 50-year-old...
Ooh, I know exactly what this is. I don't even know if I can show this. This dude dead. I already know this one.
Australian airline pilot and scuba diver David John Shaw broke the world record for the deepest successful dive in history.
No, I literally know exactly the story. This dude, he went to go set the diving world record, and while he was at the bottom of like a cave, he found a body down there, and then he went down there a while later to retrieve it, and then he died retrieving it.
He achieved this by reaching a depth of 270 meters in Bushman's Hole, one of the deepest freshwater caves in the world.
Yo, floating door
The sole
with
purpose
20
of this
gifted
dive was to
W
break the
floating door
record.
with- Y'all say this happened years ago, bruh. You can't spoil something that happened in real life. W floating door for real. Thank you, floating door.
However, when he reached the bottom, he found something that stopped him in his tracks. He found the body of Dion Dreyer, a 20-year-old scuba diver who died in that cave 10 years ago. Since humans start sinking after a certain depth, Dion's body never floated back to the surface.
This one's sad,
Given the
bruh.
extreme difficulty and danger of diving this deep, any plans to retrieve his body were also cancelled at the time of his death. However, a plaque in his name was installed near the diving point of Bushman's Hole, which is how Dave knew what he was looking at. After staring at the body in shock for a few seconds, Dave immediately got closer and tried to retrieve Dion. Unfortunately, after a decade in the water, his tanks were firmly stuck in the mud. More importantly, Dave had already spent too much time at that depth. Staying any longer would have been fatal. So he decided to tie a line to Dion's body and return to the surface with the newfound information.
Wasn't very steep. And when I saw the body over to my left, I thought, oh, that's the end of going deep. So just tied my line to it.
Dude, it's so
And by
crazy,
then I was,
bro.
well, we won't discuss that. And so I just flicked my line.
The news of Dion's body being discovered spread quickly, eventually culminating in Dave talking to his parents and promising to retrieve it. After a couple months of preparation, the next dive was scheduled for January 8th, 2005. Unfortunately, Dave's
Yo,
heroic
poop mouth with the 10 gifted. Thank you.
attempt to bring closure to Dion's parents ended in a catastrophe far worse than anyone could have imagined. Cave diving, aka underwater cave exploration, is far more dangerous than regular spelunking. The divers have to manage their oxygen levels at all times, avoid often sharp
Chat,
rock
and y'all think just normal caving's crazy? Doing it underwater is absolutely insane.
formations and explore the cave system in a far darker environment.
legitimately
because
the
even
worst thing in the
brightest
world.
Flashlights aren't as effective
And
underwater,
people just doing
all
it.
while making sure they don't get lost. Add in the immense pressure of 270 meters of water above, it becomes an almost insurmountable challenge, one that only a handful of people on the planet are capable of overcoming. So, everything needed to be perfect for Dave's operation to succeed. He worked with police divers, the defense force, and medics to ensure everything went smoothly, and they planned the dive second by second. According to the plan, Dave would use the line he tied earlier to reach Dion's body. After cutting it loose and putting it in a special body bag, he would begin his descent. This descent would have taken around 12 hours to avoid
12 hours just to get to the bottom, bro. 12 hours of swimming just to get to the bottom. Yo, floating door with another 10. W floating door for real.
Decompression sickness. So instead of holding on to Dion's body the entire time, Dave would pass it along to his longtime friend Don Shirley at 220 meters. Don would then hand it over to support divers located at various depths and keep checking on Dave for any issues. Sadly, this is not how it went. An hour and a half after the dive began, the surface crew received an ominous message from the support divers, claiming that they hadn't seen any activity from Dave or Don. Shortly after, another message reached the surface. This one was from Don, stating that he's seeing Dave in the distance, and he's not moving.
Don's okay. Don's okay. Dave's not okay.
Dude, imagine. Imagine being the second dude to the bottom on the line. You're like, wow, this dude is dead. I gotta pass up a message up the line. We gotta tell people up top that he dead, bruh. Could you imagine? R.I.P. Dave, dude.
While this message was making its way to the surface, Don tried to reach Dave himself. He exceeded his target depth, which resulted in his rebreather controller imploding. This also led to him suffering from oxygen poisoning and vomiting while 220 meters under the water. Fortunately, he managed to keep hold of the line and was eventually pulled out of the water still breathing. Dave, however, didn't make it. But when rescue teams pulled out his body, they made a shocking discovery. Dion's body was attached to the recovery line as well.
Yep, he still got the body.
Following the recovery, investigators looked at the footage captured by the waterproof camera mounted on Dave's head. This is what they saw. Though I should mention, I couldn't find the raw footage from that camera. The only clip of it online is narrated by Don himself, Dave's best friend who we just talked about, who almost died trying to save his life. The footage shows Dave moving alongside the line to find Dion's body, and then trying to put it in the bag. Unfortunately, this is where the plan started falling apart. Dion's
It is actually, see now that right there, that's brave right there.
body was unexpectedly loose from the mud and was moving around uncontrollably. Dave tried to complete his mission despite this, only to end up getting tangled in the line.
This line is just getting everywhere because this body is floating.
Dude, imagine you're so, dude, and you get tangled.
It's not stuck. Everything's moving. Right, light gets caught on the line there. Move it out of the way. Still got a nice bright light.
All this effort
He got tangled, that's how he died. Yeah, he got tangled.
caused him to neglect his gauges, resulting in Dave feeling the effects of nitrogen narcosis, which include poor judgment, trouble concentrating, and reduced muscle and nerve function. Put simply, he lost everything he needed to survive at that depth. He tried to cut the tangled line, but the lack of coordination made it near impossible. As he was struggling to stay conscious, the last thing he saw was the terrifying view of Dion's lifeless face mask staring back at him. Shortly after this, Dave passed away. The only silver lining was that the tangled line kept Dion's body close to Dave, allowing him to successfully complete his mission by recovering the body, only at the cost of his own life.
R.I.P. Dave, man. He got the body though. He did what he was gonna do. Yo, happy 25th birthday, Kylie. R.I.P. Dave, chat. R.I.P. Ski, man. He went down there to get the body. You know, he got the body still, though. R.I.P., man. Man, that's crazy, chat. Y'all ain't never heard that? Hey, dude, literally exactly. This is what we said at the start. The best part about visiting caves is that you don't have to go in there. That's just facts, bruh. That's legitimately just facts. That is the best part about chat. You know what I mean? That's the best part about cave diving, is that you ain't got to go in there. No joke.